All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
It is the Mark Thompson Show. Hey, everybody. Thank you for being here. You might wonder, where's Mark Thompson? Who is Mark Thompson? Well, as you know, Mark has been feeling under the weather this week, if you've been watching it all. And today I finally caught up with him, and he's going to sit this one out. So it's Albert and I manning the Friday show, womaning the Friday show, as it were. And
Mark gets a 4-day weekend to get better. So
it's true. And that is a great comment because, programming note, this show will be dark on Monday in observance of Labor Day. Apparently, Labor Day isn't very important to President Trump either. He is celebrating with an attack on the workforce, which is, that's how that goes. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about a lot of politics today. We've got Michael Shure and Jim Avila coming up with This Week in Politics. We're going to check in on the fine people of Florida with Friday Fabulous Florida. That is ahead. Mark has a great interview he's left for us with this guy who kind of put up this satirical website about hiring a hitman, and people actually called to hire a hitman, and then he started working with police to bust them. So we'll talk to him as well. And then, of course, the culture blaster Michael Snyder slides in, talking about movies and TV, streaming options, all the good stuff for the long weekend ahead. So thank you so much for joining in on the Mark Thompson Show. I see already with this crowdfunded show, Harry Magnan jumping in with a $5 super chat. Perfect. So I'll have a kamikaze instead of a martini at the Red Jack. Awesome. Thank you for the contribution. And of course, we love the Red Jack. That is in San Francisco, our favorite bar. Yeah. With a great, I guess you could say, flurry of drinks that all benefit talk radio. As a matter of fact, they have the Martini, the Kamikaze, and the Maduro Mule for Nikki Maduro. And you can get that at the Red Jack in San Francisco. Go say hi to Lori above the bar. All right, let's talk about, though, the attack on union workers right before Labor Day. It's something that Trump is doing that builds on an earlier order that eliminates collective bargaining rights for about 1 million federal employees. I mean, it's already clear that he doesn't really value federal employees, as he's eliminated 10% of the federal workforce. But okay, some of them so valuable that he had to turn around and rehire them, right? Now, though, he's trying to take more union rights away from federal workers. On the scheme of everything he's done, maybe it doesn't, really hit home for you, but it's just so, offensive that it happens right as Labor Day comes. So he's trying to strip collective bargaining abilities from workers at the National Weather Service, at the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, NASA, and other federal agencies. He says it's a national security exemption that would mean they wouldn't be able to collectively bargain. The federal unions are still challenging Trump in court, saying that many of the workers covered by this include nurses and park rangers, and they don't serve any national security function. And so they're trying to fight back. Look at that. He looks like he's for the worker, right? No, he's not. No, he's not. No. The president of the International Federation of Professional and Technical Engineers, representing NASA workers, says this is particularly upsetting that Trump chose to issue his latest order just ahead of Labor Day. It's a federal holiday meant to honor the U.S. labor movement and show how it has improved the lives of American workers. But he says the Trump administration is doubling down on being the most anti-labor, anti-worker administration in United States history. I mean, it's not surprising.
Nothing!
Get nothing, indeed. Might get a day off, might be the last one, because, I wouldn't be surprised if that's coming next. He's revamping all the holidays, and one to honor the worker, probably not on his top list of favorite holidays, unless it's called Trump something, right?
I'm surprised he's actually doing stuff. It's a great like a golfing holiday.
Sure.
Like a
Mm-hmm.
extra day in the week to go do whatever he wants, but
Yeah, the day that Trump has gifted you. So happy Labor Day, everyone. That's really fun. I think that there are a lot of people. Oh, look at this. This is wonderful. This is from Pamela Kirby, OG of the show, with the $10 contribution. Thank you, Kim and Albert. You always cover the show so well. Thank you. Well, knock on wood, we can keep that tradition going. And thank you for contributing to the show. By the way, it should be noted that you too can support the show. The super chats and super stickers are open. And then, of course, if you would like to support the show, Patreon, PayPal, all of the links are in the show description every day. So you'll see that right there if you're so inclined to help. And please, it's free. Click the like button and click subscribe if you can. I think we're at 133,000 subscribers. So
yeah, that's a lot of people.
That's a lot
Smash
of people.
it with your iron rod.
Maybe Republican Senator Joni Ernst from Iowa will have a little more time on her hands. Maybe she'll become a subscriber, kick back, watch the Mark Thompson show, because she is not going to seek re-election in 2026. So here comes Iowa. Maybe a seat up for grabs for Democrats. Ernst is a former Army National Guard member. She's a retired lieutenant colonel. She was first elected to the Senate seat in 2014. So she's served for more than 10 years, and now she's stepping down. The thinking is that this could have a ripple effect because Democrats are really looking to try to pick up these seats. So we could have a fight on our hands for this one. She says that she plans to announce in September that she is opting out of a race for the third term. I don't know why you want it. It's already announced. Just announce it today. It's done. So if a few people familiar with her plans spoke on the condition of anonymity, so the cat's out of the bag, Joni Ernst. But yeah, she's not coming. She says that she plans to announce it. So we don't have a reason just yet. But there are other Republicans who've decided to bow out as well. Notably, Tom Tillis, who once he decided not to run, was able to really speak his mind. Will Joni Ernst now become someone who turns around and is able to speak, or does she have big plans coming up next, which means that she still has to bend a knee to Trump? It remains to be seen. But the seat may be open in Iowa for the upcoming election in her Senate race. Something else that happened that Trump did, this is really nice. He took away Kamala Harris's Secret Service security detail. It turns out she had it a year longer than most vice presidents would have, because President Biden had extended it by a year. But I would think that, especially for a woman of color who ran against Trump, she probably had an awful lot of threats. So I don't know if it makes sense to take her Secret Service security detail away. The one good thing is she probably has enough money to pay for her own security detail. So she's starting a book tour on Monday as well. And so she's going around to 15 cities to talk about her new book, try to get some sales going there. I'm sure she'll have her own security in place. We got some Mark mail as well. Louise checked into the show. She writes, OMG, what the F is going on? First, CNN Border Patrol arrested 2 firefighters for being in the country illegally as they battled Washington's wildfire. This guy, she says, has to be taken out of office and put somewhere his destructive reach can't keep harming our nation and making us less than we are. Louise writes, love Coachella Coffee. Thanks for sponsoring them and love the show. Fan for a long time, Louise. So let's talk about it. Yeah, Louise, Border Patrol agents did arrest 2 firefighters in Washington state as they're fighting the flames. You think they're doing something pretty valuable, pretty worthwhile. You think perhaps we actually need these people right now. Border Patrol, they don't care. They say they address violations of immigration law wherever they are encountered, whether you're fighting a fire or helping America. Sayonara, sucker. That's it for you. And so a spokesperson with the Forest Service says they are aware of this Border Patrol operation at the Bear Gulch Fire in Olympic National Forest. This is on the Olympic Peninsula west of Seattle. The Customs and Border Protection folks say the two firefighters are now being held at a Border Patrol station right near the Canadian border. They are facing charges of illegal entry and re-entry of removed aliens. They have not been identified by name, I don't think, at this point. But they say there have been no impacts to firefighting efforts and progress continues to be made on the containment. This according to ICE. This fire's been burning since early July. So it's a big fire. 8,960 acres in the forest, 13% contained. Okay. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether you've served the country in the military, as we saw with a man and his sons who all served in the military. Doesn't matter. He was still taken in by ICE. It doesn't matter whether you're helping put out fires, whether you're needed, whether you're doing something valuable to the country. You're out. You are out. Yeah. ICE says the operation is not inhibiting firefighting, and they're thankful for the cooperative effort between the Forest Service and their own agency. And they're not sorry. It's just very, I don't know. I think it's just disconcerting that it doesn't matter what you do. They're going to come after you. So
yeah, it's sad, especially after I know they're helping the general public out here with putting out this fire that's been going on for a month already. So
yeah, doesn't matter at all. See you later. You're out. You're on the plane to Uganda or wherever. Speaking of, though, immigration, there is a $1.2 billion Army contract for a massive detention camp tent. And there's a lot of mystery around this contract. They're not talking a lot about it. It's going to be built, this massive tent camp at Fort Bliss, Texas. And the Pentagon is not releasing the contract, but here's what we know about it. It has been handed to this project on this military base to this company called Acquisition Logistics LLC. It is a small business. They have no experience listed running a correction facility. They've never won a federal contract worth more than $16 million. Here, this one is $1.2 billion. They don't have a functioning website. They list their address as a little home in suburban Virginia that is owned by a retired Navy flight officer who's 77 years old. And now this tent camp, is starting to accept its first immigration detainees. And the Pentagon is still not talking about who these people are with this company, explaining why it picked Acquisition Logistics over other bidders to build this $1.2 billion tent camp in West Texas. Other bidders have filed complaints, but it's very secretive.
Yeah, they're not as public as it with Alligator Alcatraz that they just
they have to dismantle Alligator Alcatraz and take all the people out of it. The reason is environmental, although there have been human rights complaints filed against it as well. But how much money did they waste? The state of Florida is now on the hook to pay millions and millions of dollars because of the bungling of Alligator Alcatraz. And now here we have this one in West Texas at Fort Bliss.
Yeah, I don't know what do you think they're going to name this one? They're going to give it a cool name.
Sure they will. The Terror at Rio Grande. I don't know. The facility is expected to hold 5,000 immigrants at this. And you know what they do? To kind of shake up your life and make it so that your family can't contact you. When they take you, ICE, they house you far from where you were taken in. So you could have California detainees at this West Texas tent camp. It's another situation. There was a Democrat who was able to tour this facility. It's Congresswoman Veronica Escobar. And she said the private facilities are far too frequently operated with a profit margin in mind, as opposed to a government facility. And she said she has no idea why this company would be picked when they just don't have the experience, and why there's a lack of transparency, leading to some questions about why the Army would be awarding such a contract to this company without a website, without any public information available at all for a complicated project. So, big question marks around this $1.2 billion Army contract for this massive detention tent camp. Frustrating. But we talked a little bit about forest fires. Let's talk about more than 58 million acres of national forests across 40 states now being opened up to development. So I guess our natural beauty of the country is not important. You know, if the workers aren't important, the forests aren't important, it's fine. You know, let it all burn, sell it off, whatever. 2 million acres of national forests in Oregon, among 58 million acres of national forest land across 40 states that Trump will be removing protections for and opening some of this to development. The U.S. Department of Agriculture announcing the proposed termination of a 2001 Forest Service rule known as the Roadless Rule. The Roadless Rule prohibits road construction, logging, and mining on about 30% of Forest Service managed lands. They did that to protect wildlife, animal migration corridors, watersheds, old growth from human development, environmental degradation as well. Trump comes in, no. Roadless rule has to go. And so we're going to see some of our national forests and some of our national lands developed, some sold off. It's frustrating because once
they're going to be digging into that immediately, looking
totally, absolutely, and
looking
once
to make a quick buck on that.
You think about, you know, life post-Trump. I know we're only almost a year into it, less than that, but my thoughts go to how do we fix all this damage afterward? But when you talk about digging into national forest lands, you can't fix that. Once you damage that, it's done. You could try to put it back together, but if you've sold it off, if you've damaged these habitats, it's a lot harder to come back from that than to just erase a law or a rule. So pretty frustrating. Nullifidian with 5. Trump is the very model of a modern major autocrat. Can't disagree with that. And thank you for the contribution to the show. Mike Ekstrom throwing in 20. Super sticker. Thank you. I'm going to put that toward the Let's Get Mark Thompson Better Fund. I'm sure you're brightening his day already. Thank you, Mike Ekstrom. I appreciate that. Vilma Devlin with 5 as well. She writes, the way the Trump administration is running the country, the United States might as well have been taken over by a foreign adversary.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vilma. And one wonders, I have no evidence, I have no proof, but after the conversation yesterday with Sarah Kendzior, which if you missed it, Albert pulled that as a separate video, and please watch that interview and share it if you can. So good.
Yeah, it's done well. We have like 14,000 people have already watched it. So
excellent.
In case you missed it, it's a really good one. And
keep sharing that one. She talks about in that the connections between Trump and foreign leaders and foreign countries. So Vilma, you might be on the right track. Maybe we have been taken over by a foreign adversary and we just don't know it. The possibility exists, frustratingly enough. I saw this yesterday about the Epstein scandal that keeps sticking to Trump wherever he goes. It is not easing up, and they're trying so hard, including J.D. Vance, who was speaking with an anchor in an interview, and once again tries to blame the Biden administration for not releasing documents and the Epstein files, as it were. Let's take a look. I think Albert has the video.
Jeffrey Epstein. Now that you're in power, you say that there is no client list. Why do you think it is that so many of your own supporters don't believe you?
Well, I think what the president has said, first of all, is he's told the Department of Justice to do full transparency here, to release what we have, to release the credible information. And I think you saw Todd Blanche just a couple of days ago actually release the 9-hour transcript of interview that he did with Ghislaine Maxwell. What the president has also said is that we've got a whole host of things that we can focus on. You can both order the Department of Justice to do full transparency. You can also ask the Department of Justice to enforce the law. You can also ask the National Guard to make sure that DC's streets are safe. You don't have to do one of these things or the other. So I don't think that it's a distraction, especially when I think the president has ordered the administration to be more transparent about this than any other issue. Now, yes, I'm certainly aware that there are folks, even some of our own supporters, who have criticized the response of the president of the Department of Justice. But I think if you look at this in full and you give this the proper amount of time, what you're going to find is that the administration has been far more open and transparent about this issue and many others than any other administration. We have to remember this entire thing happened. This entire story blew up during the Biden administration. The Biden administration had 4 years to release this information. They did absolutely nothing. The president has actually directed his Department of Justice to release whatever information that we can, and also to go further. I mean, to talk to Ghislaine Maxwell for 9 hours to see if there are any other leads that we can uncover to actually identify some crimes that we can prosecute. But again, as the president has always said, we're going to let the Department of Justice be driven by the facts and the law. We're not going to prosecute people just because other people want us to. We're only going to prosecute people if they committed a crime. That's true in the Epstein situation. And that's true in a lot of other issues as well. That's why the president's focus on credibility here and the real evidence.
What just happened there was the biggest spin of lies that he could have come out of his face. That was an interview with USA Today. And it's once again the Biden administration's fault, right? The whole Epstein files thing, it's everyone's fault but theirs. And of course, he and I don't know how he says it with a straight face, Albert. He says that the Department of Justice doesn't file charges, doesn't go after people unless there's a real reason, that nothing's political. But we've seen the DOJ be used as a weapon for Trump, more so than I've ever seen before. So that's clearly not true.
It's just like seeing the greatest hits. Like the Trump administration's been doing this for years. They kind of talk themselves in circles and say the lazy excuses, the blatant excuses, and they just hope that they just pile on all these other distractions that they hope it just gets out of the news cycle.
And it's one of these things really where the more they say it, the more they hope people believe it. They're just going to keep singing the greatest hits. They're just going to keep singing the tune, and eventually their followers will be like, oh yeah, totally Biden's fault. Look, they released that Ghislaine Maxwell tape with the Todd Blanche, interview. He just referenced it there. You mean the Ghislaine Maxwell interview where she opened her mouth to lie to get a sweetheart deal so she could be at a minor security tent camp in Texas? Yeah.
I mean, it's so blatant. Like it's clear and very obvious. But
if you even read what she said or listened to what she said, oh, President Trump has been so good to me and he's just the best. And I mean, it's, as you say, so blatant, so ridiculous. And everybody knows it. We all see through it. Even the MAGA people can see through it. They're not getting rid of it. And so he can sit down with USA Today, Vice President Vance, or anyone else and keep saying it, but we're all a little too smart for this. He says Trump has full transparency on the Epstein issue, and says because he released the Ghislaine Maxwell interview that I guess that should count for something. Okay. I don't think so. He said we have to remember this entire story blew up during the Biden administration. Well, who's involved? Who's linked to Epstein? Trump, Epstein. That's what it's about. So I just love that they're still trying to spin it. No, thank you.
I mean, even whoever gets to be in the next presidency, if it is a Democrat, I would expect them or hope that they would dig a little into this a lot more, even though Trump has a bunch of protections still.
I feel like the Trump administration has already either scrubbed or gotten rid of all the damning evidence. I mean, I don't think they're going to leave that behind, but maybe that's just me. Mark thinks that it's already out there, that other people have it, that it can't be completely scrubbed. I don't know. I don't know. Here's an interesting story about 9/11, and it's hard to fathom that this has been going on so long. But a judge has just allowed families of 9/11 victims to sue Saudi Arabia for helping the hijackers. Again, you would think that something like this would have been decided long, long ago. But this federal judge in New York is denying a motion by Saudi Arabia, the kingdom, to dismiss a lawsuit brought by the families of the 9/11 victims. They are trying to hold Saudi Arabia responsible for potentially providing support to hijackers. So this has been a long-running lawsuit. They're trying to hold Saudi Arabia liable for the Al-Qaeda attack. The suit was temporarily dismissed in 2015. That was overturned by an appeals court. While that was pending, Congress enacted a law known as the Justice Against Sponsors of Terrorism Act, which does allow victims of terror attacks to sue foreign governments and individuals if they provided military support to the attackers. And it also gave the United States courts the jurisdiction over these potential lawsuits that were involving people who died on U.S. soil. So, the allegations are that there are members of the Saudi government that had links to some of the September 11th hijackers, and we've known about that for, it seems like, years, right? Saudi Arabia denying this, and now that we have this buddy-buddy relationship, you saw Trump go to Saudi Arabia, right? He's collecting money and support. So I don't know how far this is going, since seems like the courts are in Trump's pocket. But the judge said there's evidence here and your case can move forward. Judge said the plaintiffs have managed to provide the court with reasonable evidence as to the roles played by certain terrorists in the 9/11 attacks, assisting the hijackers. And the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia did not provide sufficient evidence to the contrary. So for now, that case moves forward. Let's talk about the takeover situation with Washington, D.C. And now we know that the Trump border czar, Tom Homan, is saying there is a very large contingent of ICE agents headed to Chicago and that U.S. cities better get ready, because the sanctuary cities, ICE is coming for you. We're going to get a ramp up in immigration enforcement in several major sanctuary cities, according to this fine fellow, Tom Homan. He says they're planning to send a large contingent of ICE agents to Chicago and ramp up immigration enforcement operations in sanctuary cities across the country. Here's his quote. You're going to see a ramp up of operations in Chicago. Absolutely. You're going to see a ramp up of operations in New York. You're going to see a ramp up, he said, of operations continuing in LA, Portland, Seattle, all, he said, of these sanctuary cities that refuse to work with ICE. The sanctuary cities have policies in place that limit any type of cooperation between the local police and the federal immigration authorities, right? So in San Francisco, if you've arrested someone who may be in this country illegally, you're not allowed to call ICE. ICE has to figure it out on their own and then wait outside the jail for you to be released before they collect you as well. That's how it's supposed to work in a sanctuary city. But that's not okay with the Trump administration. They're coming. They're coming. Homan said, sanctuary cities are now our priority. We are going to flood the zone. Next site, Chicago, first up.
Well, I'm glad he's at least sounding the alarm, so the proper
prepare people, right?
People could prepare accordingly.
Yeah. They say they could do Chicago as early as next week. They're already getting everybody ready. Yeah.
It's nice to
Armored
see some
vehicles,
transparency from this administration. It's finally,
a warning, right? Usually they
yeah.
don't give you a warning. They're going to take armored vehicles, federal agents, and they're going to surge into Chicago to kick off a major operation by September 5th. So, yep. They're also in talks to use a naval base near Chicago to assist with ICE operations. I think it's Naval Base Great Lakes is where they're going to be. So, yeah. Here it comes. I mean, I guess we can't be surprised, but I think this will be bigger than what we've seen in the past. And what we've seen
Yes.
in the past is already pretty harrowing. So when they say a major contingent of ICE, wow. Speaking of immigration, though,
We have
and
we do have that interview coming up, and I think we need
yeah,
to fit in some Friday Fabulous Florida right
that's
before that.
true. I'm on a roll. Let me do this one last story because I think it's interesting and it goes along with immigration. And it's, the numbers, the crime numbers, the reason that Trump is giving to bring the National Guard into our cities. Oh, they're rife with crime. We need the National Guard to clean up. And when we've seen in DC is they're picking up garbage off the streets, which isn't the best use of our military, one could say. He said before, Trump, that the crime numbers from the Washington, D.C. Police Department and other crime numbers, no, they were wrong. As a matter of fact, he was going to sue because the crime numbers were wrong. But now, with this agency in DC reporting drops in crime, the White House is saying, see, look. So data from the same agency they said was somehow suspect or incorrect, now they're using for their own benefit. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt saying total crime in DC is down 19%, violent crime is down 30%. The numbers coming from the DC Metropolitan Police Department, which they had previously accused of releasing fake crime data to create a false sense of security. But this data is good. So just the hypocrisy and ridiculousness. All right. Do you want to do the interview first, or do you want to do Friday Fabulous Florida?
I think we could get to Florida first, but I meant to bring this up yesterday. We wanted to talk about the National Guard a little bit and how they're like picking up the trash. I just think it's a little redundant that they're wearing the camo, obviously, because they are the National Guard. They're wearing the camo, but they also have the high visibility vests, the reflective vests.
Are you trying to blend in, or are you trying to stand out? What are you trying to do?
Exactly. It's a little contradicting and a little confusing, but I'm all for it. So
Yeah.
I enjoyed seeing this.
That's crazy. That's funny, Albert. Yeah, I know. They didn't have time to get the glow in the dark uniform. All this happened so fast, so you know how it goes. All right, let's get to it. It is Friday Fabulous Florida.
It's time for Friday Fabulous Florida.
There is a gigantic alligator in my kitchen.
A look at the weirdest stories from our weirdest state.
Oh, Friday Fabulous Florida. I know you wait for it. As a matter of fact, I saw someone in the chat that it was saying, oh, it's Friday Fabulous Florida with little alligators. Yeah, there it is. And so here it is. First story up. And, you've got to really listen to these carefully and pick your favorite at the end. Albert has really outdone himself this time. This was a little longer Friday Fabulous Florida for you as well. Florida man wearing Batman pajamas thwarts burglary, detains suspect before police even arrive. Yeah, I love the Batman pajamas on a grown-up. This is great. This man in Florida says, they say he's proving that not all heroes wear capes after he thwarted a burglary and detained a suspect while he was wearing his Batman pajamas. This happened in Cape Coral. Thanks to a quick-thinking neighbor in his Batman pajamas, say police, another burglary suspect was put behind bars. This all went down at 2:03 a.m. on Wednesday when police responded to a burglary in progress at a home in southeast Cape Coral. But when they got to the scene, they found the suspect had already been detained by Batman, Kyle Mivett. He was dressed in his Batman onesie. He told detectives he'd gone to bed when his home security camera alerted him that someone was breaking into his car. So He got up, still wearing his Batman jams. He went outside to investigate, and he saw the suspect rummaging through his truck. Moments later, Mivett says he found the same suspect in his neighbor's garage and detained the guy until police arrived. And what you have is the man he allegedly found here, 20-year-old Justin Schimple, who is now accused of breaking into Mivett's vehicle along with his neighbors. Police say this fellow stole several items, including 2 pairs of Ray-Ban sunglasses worth $300 each, cash, a woman's wristlet, and more than $500 in gift cards. I don't know why you would keep that many gift cards in your car, but all right.
Maybe he was tipped off. How did he probably thought he got a big score there.
Yeah.
That neighborhood maybe have a
Some
lot.
value-
How do you think he felt, getting detained by a
Batman?
common person wearing a Batman pajamas?
probably
Like
like,
that's
what
got to
is-
be not the best feeling. Like, wow,
What
this
is
guy really took me
happening to
down.
me right now? Why is Batman arresting me?
Yeah, is this a joke? Is this what is this?
Mr. Schimple is known to law enforcement from prior investigations, but he says, Albert, he didn't do it. It was another guy that was with him that did this. But the name of that person changed multiple times. So Schimple is trying to come up with the story is what it looks like. He is now in jail. So he'll be there for a while. Yeah, that's the way it goes. This one comes with some video. This Florida man survives a lightning strike outside of a pizza shop, and he described the pain as absolutely unbearable. Oh, goodness. 30-year-old man from Florida says he is, and he is indeed, although the phrase is overused, it's applicable here, lucky to be alive after a lightning strike outside a Tampa area pizza restaurant left him, he says, convulsing on the ground in unbearable pain. This happened in Seminole, Florida on August 18th. Travis says a light rain was falling when out of nowhere he heard a crack and a boom, and he ended up face down on the ground in front of Risotto's Pizzeria. He said, it was the most scared I've ever been in my life because I didn't know what was going to happen. Came out of nowhere. He works as the property manager of this complex where the restaurant is located, and he was doing a normal walkthrough when he felt a zap. And the guy who owns the pizza shop, Mr. Risotto, said he was working when he felt the bolt hit the ground. The whole building rumbled and shook. And he felt like it hit something and looked out his window. And yep, there you go. That's where he found him, he said. He told one of his customers to call 911 as he raced out the door to help the man whose body was on the ground between an oak tree and a mailbox. And when he reached him, the victim was choking on mud and grass, and his body was convulsing. He said, I couldn't talk, couldn't walk, couldn't do anything. Pizza guy says he was on fire. His body was like so hot, it was incredible. The pain, again, unimaginable.
I'm glad. I hope for the owner. He got he saved the property manager's life, and I hope he gets a couple months off of the rent.
Yeah, a little break on the rent. Why not?
Yeah.
But to get hit with a bolt of lightning like that and live to tell the tale,
I'd be so mad at the world. Why me? Like out of anywhere and everywhere, this lightning can strike. It happens to me, so I would just be extremely frustrated with life and the world.
He probably has a new lease on life. Thinks, gosh, look what can happen. Time to start living. A Florida man caught selling firearms on an e-bike, arrested after fleeing deputies. Yeah. Maybe you need something a little faster. I don't know. This man, he's behind bars after he was caught trying to sell firearms on an electric bike. The Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office says that on August 24th, a fine Sunday, deputies began conducting surveillance at a residence of Christopher Newman. He has been convicted of felonies 12 times, so he's known to police. Law enforcement got some tips that he was trying to sell firearms in Tampa. This 44-year-old man, according to police, was seen traveling on an e-bike and carrying a large bag. So the deputies attempted a traffic stop, but Mr. Newman fled, apparently, trying to weave through traffic and chucked the bag on the side of the roadway. He was quickly captured, taken into custody, and what deputies say they found inside the bag: a Marlin 30-30 lever-action rifle that had been stolen. They found a Winchester 16-gauge short-barrel shotgun. They found ammunition, and he now faces counts of felony fleeing to elude.
My bad. I'm sorry.
Unlawful use of a two-way communication, resisting police, possession of a short-barreled rifle, possession of a firearm during a commission of a felony. It goes on and on.
And
a
partridge in a pear tree. He got
exactly.
everything. Wow.
Yeah. And so he just got out of jail in March after serving time for burglary, theft, firearms, and narcotic offenses. And now
he probably got out of jail and said, "Hey, maybe e-bike is the answer. Maybe I could just ride this thing up to my next transaction." And I mean, I think it's a really creative use of the bike, but I think maybe not firearms. Maybe something else if you're going to use an e-bike for your side hustles. Yeah,
not going to work. A Central Florida woman arrested for performing unlicensed dental work and allegedly using crazy glue during procedures. Come on.
It's a wild idea, but it just might work.
And it didn't. This Central Florida woman has been arrested for performing unlicensed dental work. She just kind of went forward with confidence, acted like she was supposed to be doing what she was doing. There's her picture. Her name is Emily Martinez. She used social media to advertise various forms of beauty, cosmetic, and personal care services that she offers. She posted on social media showing her claim to transform and enhance patients' teeth through various dental cosmetic procedures like teeth whitening and veneers. I mean, she's going to do all this dental work for you. But the problem is, Albert, that Emily is not a licensed dentist. She does not have the proper credentials or schooling to do any of these things to you. She
could get hired by the Trump administration for multiple positions with her qualifications.
That's exactly right. In Trump world, she's qualified to do it all. Police say she is not licensed to put in veneers. She has no schooling to do veneers in the state of Florida. You obviously have to be licensed to do any kind of work like that. Her victims were not aware that she was not licensed, but this whole scheme from Ms. Martinez began to unravel when two customers reported her to police this summer after they had complications and she refused to refund their money. These treatments, they say, have the ability to boost your confidence, but if you don't have the proper care, they can pose a risk to gum inflammation and teeth sensitivity and can cause all kinds of problems. The real dentist that the people then went to told the victims that veneers that were placed in the mouth appear to have been done with crazy glue. An average single veneer at a real dentist office can cost between $900 and $1,500 per tooth. One victim paid Ms. Martinez $2,500 for the entire mouth. And it's not the first time Emily has been accused of this crime. In March, she was arrested on charges of unlicensed dental work in Hillsborough County, but released and performed the work on Pinellas County victims then in June and July, according to police. And they think she might have done more than just installing veneers. They also say they have information that she was pulling teeth as well. And it's still an active investigation. So
wow. It's kind of impressive, actually.
She doubled down and she was like, "You can't arrest me. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing."
Yeah, she kept on going, and apparently, according to the article, only 2 people complained. I don't know how many. I like how they called them victims. For her, those are her clients, you know.
Client victims walking around with a mouthful of crazy glue. Lastly, this drunk Florida man allegedly fired gunshots at 3 police officers to get their attention. Just trying to get your attention. You know, this guy's 20 years old. He's accused of firing off his gun in the direction of 3 police officers who were eating dinner at the time because he was drunk and he wanted to get their attention.
Ooh, it's a wild idea, but it just might work.
Probably a bad idea. The man's name is...
Devin Williams.
Devin Williams, there he is. At the Winter Springs Police Department, they say their 3 officers were eating dinner in a church parking lot shortly after midnight on Thursday, August 28th, when they heard gunshots being fired at them. The 3 officers immediately taking cover and calling for backup. None of the officers were hurt in this. One of the officers determined which direction the gunfire was coming from. They searched the area and find 20-year-old Devin Williams of Orlando walking along the sidewalk. He was detained. He was questioned. He said he didn't hear any gunfire, but he admitted he had a gun tucked away in the front of his pants. Police think that Glock 43 found on Mr. Williams was the gun used to fire shots.
Be willing to bet my lunch that there's alcohol involved.
Police said Williams admitted to being a little drunk, as a matter of fact, and that he saw the officers in the parking lot and wanted to get their attention. They searched his backpack.
It was wrong, it was stupid, and I'm trying to be a better person.
They say they found a bottle of alcohol in his backpack, several rounds of ammo, and a second handgun as well, reportedly stolen out of Orlando. So Mr. Williams is now booked into jail on several charges, including aggravated assault on a law enforcement officer, use of a firearm under the influence, that's a crime, grand theft of a firearm, liquor possession by a person under 21, unlawful carry of a concealed firearm, firing a weapon in public. Again, with the laundry list, it goes on.
There's a reason that this place is fun.
Man. Police say our officers performed flawlessly, took this individual into custody within a minute of the shooting, recovered 2 guns, one of which was stolen, and they said this individual did indeed succeed in getting our attention and will hopefully spend a long time incarcerated. Yeah, you got their attention all right.
Oh, so how'd you get to jail? I fired my guns at the cops to get their attention, and it worked.
And they took me seriously, right?
Yeah.
Here's your options. Everybody ready to pick the favorite? First option, or a little recap: the Florida man wearing the Batman pajamas, thwarting the burglary, detaining the suspect even before police arrived. The Florida man surviving a lightning strike outside of a pizza shop. The Florida man caught selling firearms on an e-bike, arrested fleeing deputies. A Central Florida woman arrested for performing unlicensed dental work, which involved crazy glue. And the drunk Florida man allegedly firing gunshots at 3 police officers to get their attention. Albert, your favorite, please.
I mean, I'm helping you out here, so I don't have enough time to pull up the polls, but I see a lot of votes for the Batman. I see a lot of people love the dentist too.
Yeah.
Dentist Batman. I do like the Batman story just because of course he's doing all that work with the in uniform actually, which is very impressive. But a lot of good stories this week.
So you're going for Batman?
I'm going for Batman.
I was really liking Batman, but I saw the story about the firing at the police just to get their attention, and I have to go with that drunk guy who, did end up getting the attention he desired. That is Friday Fabulous Florida.
This has been Friday Fabulous Florida.
There is a gigantic alligator in my kitchen.
Y'all come back now here.
Oh, I don't know if we have time for the interview. Did I talk too much? Should I take too long?
You pulled the mark, Kim.
I did.
You got carried away with the great stories and sharing information with our viewers.
Oh, man. All right. Well, how about we do a little bit of news then, because that's pertinent to all involved. And then we'll get to Michael Shure and Jim Avila with This Week in Politics.
I like that idea. I'll let you know once they're in the green room. So if you want to keep the news rolling,
okay.
And I'll play a little break for you in a sounder since you've been going for almost a full hour. So
you're so good to me, Albert.
Here's the news.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. This report sponsored by CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. President Trump's border czar confirming talks are underway to possibly use a naval base near North Chicago as a hub for a post-Labor Day deportation campaign in Chicago. Tom Homan telling reporters yesterday that a large contingent of ICE agents could potentially be housed at Naval Station Great Lakes. Homan said operations are ramping up across the country, including Chicago. He said Chicago is specifically being targeted because it still has a crime problem and because of its sanctuary city status. A man caught throwing a sandwich at a federal agent in Washington, D.C. You remember Sandwich Guy. He's being charged with misdemeanor assault. The Office of U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro, it's hard to say those words, announced the charge Thursday, a day after she failed to get a grand jury felony indictment. Video of Sean Dunn throwing a submarine sandwich at a Border Patrol officer went viral. Happened August 10th, days after Trump had National Guard troops sent to the city of D.C. to help fight crime. At the time of the incident, Dunn was a Justice Department employee. He is no longer.
Now they're picking up the sandwiches. The National Guard are picking up the trash, picking up the sandwiches.
Yeah, they're picking up the wrappers.
Almost like less than a month later.
Picking up that cheese off the street. Some California Republicans are proposing to split the state in two in response to redistricting efforts. You know, you're just going to cut it right down the middle. Experts warn Republicans may not get what they want because it would change the political dynamic nationally. Political analysts say the proposal likely won't make it very far. It would need a 2/3 majority in both the state assembly and the state senate, and then it would require approval from Congress as well. The two-state plan would separate our coastal area in California, which has about 3/4 of the state's population, from the remaining region. That includes Northern California, the Sierra Nevada, the Central Valley, and Southern California's Inland Empire. You know, there have been more than 200 attempts to split California up, and none of them have worked. So, you know, I don't think this is a really well thought out response. But hey, you do you, Republicans. New Orleans is marking 20 years since Hurricane Katrina. Remember, the powerful storm made landfall on the U.S. Gulf Coast August 29th of 2005. Katrina remains one of the most devastating natural disasters in U.S. history. It killed more than 1,800 people. There's a federal judge yet to rule after today's court hearing on whether Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook can remain on the job while her lawsuit against President Trump plays out. The lawsuit asks the court to bar Trump from firing her over accusations that she committed mortgage fraud. The judge is asking for both sides to file some follow-ups, and he'd like those by Tuesday. So this case continues. The White House is defending Special Envoy Steve Witkoff after a critical article by Politico. Vice President Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and Deputy White House Chief of Staff Taylor Budowich have all pushed back against this article, which quotes anonymous sources saying Witkoff's inexperience shines through. They referred to him as a rogue actor. In a post on X, Vance wrote, "To set the record straight, Steve Witkoff is an invaluable member of our team. He did not mislead anyone on what the Russians told him and what the Russians conceded." And as Mark has said on this show time after time, Mr. Witkoff is experienced at negotiating high-value real estate deals and not much else. So his foray into international politics and diplomacy, once again, you have Trump putting someone that has no business being in this position into a very important position for the United States.
Yeah, I know another real estate guy who's around the country, running the country, actually.
Oh, yeah, him too. Yeah. A federal judge is rejecting Saudi Arabia's motion to dismiss a lawsuit filed by the families of 9/11 victims. Nearly 3,000 people died when two passenger jets crashed into New York's Twin Towers, September 11th, 2001. A civil lawsuit from the 9/11 families claim the Saudi kingdom assisted the men who hijacked the two planes. Attorneys for the kingdom argue the Saudi Arabia was allied with the United States in the fight against terrorism, and they called for this case to be dismissed. But yesterday, the judge ruled, as we mentioned earlier, the plaintiffs provided reasonable evidence that Saudi Arabia allegedly assisted the 9/11 hijackers. And the Powerball jackpot, just in case you needed to know, has jumped again with no grand prize winner on Wednesday night's drawing. It now stands at $950 million. And if you were to win this one, Albert, the cash option would be just shy of 429 mil. The next drawing set to take place on Saturday. So you could get 453 million in that massive jackpot. I mean,
are you taking everything all at once, Kim, or you want to spread that out throughout the duration of your life?
So we talked about the real possibility of winning, which we know is non-existent. But if you take the 950 million and then you die in 10 years, your heirs don't get the rest of it. Like once you die, that's it. All the money that you've gotten to that point, that's it.
Oh, so you're taking it up front.
You're really taking a chance that you're not going to get hit by a Mack truck or whatever.
Struck by lightning in Florida.
See, it happens.
Yeah.
So yeah, you got to take the most you can get right now today, right?
Not all that money's going to get straight to my head, Kim. I'm not working like the rest of my life.
Are you saying you're not going to be on the Mark Thompson show?
I'll still charge Mark, actually. Yeah, no, I'd still do it.
I mean, I'm shocked. I thought this was a labor of love. No,
I'll take like 6 months off. Actually,
man.
I'll come back after that.
Come on.
Let me get bored of being at the golf course first, Kim, before I go back to work.
Before you come back? All right. That's acceptable. This report sponsored by CoachellaValleyCoffee.com, and boy, is it good. And I mean really good. At my house right now, the Clarity Blend coffee that has the mushrooms that improve your mental outlook, that's very popular. My husband loves it. Mark loves it. It's big at their house as well. That is the Clarity Blend. They have the lion's mane also infused in tea as well. That is the turmeric chai tea. So whether you like tea or coffee, you can still get that benefit. I really love the vanilla tea. They have a Moroccan mint tea that's super refreshing. This is the best, and you got to check it out. It's at CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. That's the website, CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. They have tasting notes that make it very clear what you're ordering, and they send it really fast. Lots of times they send it with little extras. So please check it out, CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. And if there's something that you end up wanting, please make sure you use our special code. It gets you 10% off. Mark T, no spaces. Mark T is the special super secret code that gets you 10% off. And thank you for checking out CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. And thanks to Coachella Valley Coffee for supporting the Mark Thompson Show for all these years. We really appreciate it. We're on our second year of this podcast now. So, yeah.
I feel like we might be heading into year 3 in a couple
already?
months.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And Coachella Valley Coffee has been with us for much of that time. So we really appreciate it. I'm Kim McAllister. This is the Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Smash it with your iron rod.
Who's Mark Thompson?
Hey, which one of you is Mark Thompson?
What he's got going here is a situation.
It's unbelievably offensive.
Put up your pants, my man. Pull up those pants.
Ralph Nader just sent me a book. Did he send you one too?
I offer this sincere apology to you today.
Everything is going extremely well.
Call me a liar. Know what you call him?
You, sir, are a liar.
You are a cover-up artist, and you are a liar.
Liar, liar, your pants are on fire!
Google told me.
Can you let him finish, sir?
It was wrong, it was stupid, and I'm trying to be a better person.
No.
I'm going to tell you what I think.
What are the porn stars doing?
Do you have a secret now?
It's an itty bitty bit of weed.
100% effective. How about that?
Say what?
And this is their new host.
There is no defense for my conduct.
I misspoke. stand corrected.
And I wanted to apologize to the Asian community, the Asian American community.
Time's up, mother effers.
It is the Mark Thompson Show. Yeah, on a Friday. Mark Thompson Show is not with us. He's recovering. He got a little sick, and he's been struggling the last couple of days, and today we needed to give him a day off so he could rest and recover. And right about now, he's rolling around on his couch. He's listening to the show. He's yelling at YouTube saying, Kim, why can't you do it better? But yeah, that's what's happening. But you know who does it better always? Former ABC White House correspondent, winner of all the awards. It is Jim Avila joining us now for This Week in Politics. Hi, Jim.
Good afternoon. How you doing?
Good. It's so nice to have you on the show.
And you're doing great. You know, don't have to worry about that Mark Thompson guy.
Who's Mark Thompson? I mean, really?
Right.
Yeah. We showed something yesterday on the show. Hi, Albert.
Michael is also here.
Oh, bring him on in. Let's get Michael Shure in the mix as well. Hey, Michael Shure.
Hey, how are you?
Hi, journalist Michael Shure joining us. I got both my guys in here for this one. We showed this video yesterday as the show was ending, but I wanted to roll it again because I thought it was really powerful, and it kind of speaks to Gavin Newsom really being the only person so far to stand up and give it back to Trump. Newsom was at a Politico event, and he was interviewed on stage. He was asked about whether or not he really thinks Trump won't step down in 2028. You know, they got all the Trump 2028 hats and all the other things. So I think Albert has the video. Here's a look at what Gavin Newsom had to say.
I don't think Donald Trump wants another election. I have 24 Trump 2028 hats. His folks keep sending me.
And you think he's going to run again?
No, don't give me. You don't. Who spends $200 million on a ballroom at their home and then leaves the house? So this is serious, guys. This is serious.
So it'll be Newsom Trump in 28.
No. This guy doesn't believe in free, fair elections. He tried to wreck this country. Were you there, January 6th? I mean, he tried to light democracy on fire. He dialed for almost 12,000 votes. Now he's doing it in plain sight. And people say, oh, it's just Trump being Trump. You will lose your country. Again, it's not about Democrats. It's about all of us.
So you're absolutely convinced he's
I'm absolutely
2028.
You've seen it. He tried to steal the last election. He's trying to rig it in plain sight. I'm on the other side of giving a damn about people's feelings about this moment. I will express myself more clearly and more concisely because I see the threats in very vivid terms in ways I never saw before. And I see the consequences of not just those threats from the administration, but the actions of this administration, more perhaps than any other governor in the United States, because I've seen the damage firsthand to communities, this economy, our reputation, to our allies, the world we're trying to build. This is simply the most destructive and damaging individual in my lifetime that happens to be the President of the United States. I have to meet this moment. And so, yeah, this has been very clarifying. It's been very sobering.
Perhaps I'm naive, Michael Shure, but I have the feeling that he would be saying this even if there wasn't scuttlebutt that he's trying to run in 2028. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I mean, absolutely he'd be saying it, but he's also saying it because there's scuttlebutt. So, the first part of what he was saying there, the first, I guess, minute or so of that clip, he sounded exactly like, and I know Governor Newsom probably doesn't want to, he sounded like Joe Biden. I mean, I could have closed my eyes and heard Joe Biden saying, look, listen, folks, not just talking about Democrats. I mean, even some of the intonation was pretty Biden-esque. But the point is that it doesn't matter if he's running or not. And when I say that, it doesn't matter that he's going to run. This is the kind of thing that somebody should rise up and react to. And he's somebody who is doing that right now. I happen not necessarily to agree that Trump is going to run in 28, and the reason, or that he would be, a de facto nominee. There are a lot of ambitious Republicans in the House, in state houses around the country, in the Senate. They want to be president too. Josh Hawley, Tom Cotton, you name them, Marco Rubio even want to be president, and they're going to hang on to the Trump, popularity, but they don't want to support Donald Trump. So I think ambition on both sides will get in the way of that. But I think it's important that Newsom is saying this. And the fact that it's a possibility means it's worth talking about. I just happen not to think that, that would come to fruition.
His name is rising. When you look at polls about who would be the top Democrat for 2028, his name is above Kamala Harris now. And it's partially due to statements like he just made, but also these memes that he's coming out with that, kind of put a mirror to Trump, and they're funny and people are paying attention. Jim Avila, is that getting Gavin Newsom noticed more, do you think, by people in other parts of the country, or is he always just going to be a California liberal and he doesn't have much of a shot?
Oh, I think he has a great shot. I think he is. I think he's operating in a vacuum now, except for Pritzker. Pritzker's out there, AOC's out there, but AOC, as popular as she may be among the progressives, would have a difficult time winning the nomination. But Pritzker and Gavin Newsom are right up there, and they're out there and they're trying, and I think that it's a good thing. I agree with Michael. I think that I think what he's doing is right, and he's taking them on in a clever, funny way. His social media people are very good. Pritzker is more serious, I think. Isn't that as clever as Gavin Newsom and his people are, but he's doing a good job. Pritzker too. He just came out, and he's making speeches around the country, the kind of speeches you make if you're going to run for president. So I think right now it's those two. As I've said before in this program, I don't think. While I might prefer a woman, I don't think the country continues to show that it will not vote for a woman, and that's really a shame. Women and minorities are not getting the support that they deserve, but that's the way it is. So we'll take a couple of one of those two white guys or somebody else that comes along.
Yeah.
Well, it's not just the two white guys either, Jim. I mean, so what's really fascinating? I want to just I'm
Please.
sorry to interrupt, Kim. What's fascinating about this moment is that Newsom has really fought back, and he's got this whole social media thing going very successfully. I think that he is definitely under the skin of the president in ways that even he probably didn't expect, and it has just continued to have a life. And then there you have J.B. Pritzker sitting in Illinois saying, wait, I want to be president too. Yeah. So politics is happening now, and it's not just J.B. Pritzker saying, stay out of Chicago. We're not going to let you come in here with your troops because he's the governor of Illinois. It's J.B. Pritzker saying that because he doesn't want to be the only governor running for president who isn't standing up to Trump in the way that Newsom is too. So while it is, I never think cynically of politics in general. They're playing politics right now. So too Wes Moore in Maryland, now threatening redistricting in Maryland, now threatening the president by saying, do not bring your troops in here. Do not bring federal troops into Maryland. We've got Baltimore under control. So, and Wes Moore is a young governor, and, it makes you wonder what Josh Shapiro is doing, right? What is
where's Andy Bashir? Yeah.
Where's Andy Bashir, right? Well, that, so they're red states as the last presidential election went, and Kentucky we know is a red state. Yeah. So it's a little bit different the way they can approach this president, because they don't want to be seen as, they want to be seen, certainly Bashir wants to be seen as more moderate than Gavin Newsom if they're going to be running against each other. So they all don't want to be carbon copies, but Pritzker and Newsom cut the same kind of figure.
What's interesting, and this goes back to what Jim Avila was saying about women and minorities, is that Kamala Harris on Monday starts a 15-city book tour. And usually when they put out a book, they're, prepping for running again. Are we thinking Kamala Harris is done with this, or maybe is she going to throw her hat in the ring? Whoever wants to answer.
Well, I think she's considering it, and she was vice president and did fall just short of beating Trump the second time. But I don't believe that she is. I think she had her shot, and while she may be thinking of it, I'm not so sure Democrats are thinking of it. They looked at that last race, and they and they saw a lot of failures, a lot of problems with the candidate, which is unfortunate because I thought she was pretty good.
Yeah, I do too.
And but I think she's probably going to try to run or think about running, but I don't think that she will in the end. I don't think she'll be the person who it'll be. I think, as Michael just mentioned, I think Shapiro's very good as well. Bashir, I don't know if he's known as well as the others, and Westmore is not as well known as the others either.
Yeah, Westmore is a little bit is younger. Bashir brings would probably bring a calming, and I never want to overrate the importance of geography, but calming balance to a ticket should it be Newsom at the top of the ticket. I agree with Jim about Vice President Harris. The other thing is, Harris and Newsom are very reliant and have been their entire careers on California dollars, and I think it would be very difficult for Kamala Harris to mount a campaign against with Gavin Newsom in the race, because they go to the same pockets, and those pockets were emptied in 2024 for Harris, and they're going to be emptied in 2028, and already are for this what Gavin's trying to do now. So I don't think that economically it would be possible for Harris to run a successful campaign, and she doesn't want to do that. Yeah.
And it's a shame too, because she had everything going for her that she needed. She had all that money. She had more money than anybody, more money than Trump even.
Yeah.
And she had the whole Democratic Party behind her. There was no primary that split up the support. And she wasn't able to do it. And that really kind of falls on her.
And I think a lot of Democrats wouldn't mind seeing her replace Clarence Thomas. So,
there you go. Well, that would be great.
Yeah.
We saw the clip of Governor Gavin Newsom really slamming Trump, and not everybody is on board with that, obviously, but Laura Ingraham takes it to a new level. She goes on Fox and talks about how it's dangerous to criticize Trump in such a way, that Gavin Newsom's criticism of Trump could encourage more assassination attempts on the president. So apparently now you're not allowed to criticize the president, because then that means you're advocating violence against the president, or somehow you're opening the door to more possibilities of violence against the president. She went on Fox and played clips of Newsom suggesting, the one we just saw, that Trump isn't going to cede power at the end of his term. And she's accusing him, Newsom, of lying. She said the lie endlessly repeated is dangerous. The Minneapolis killer, she said, who fantasized about murdering Trump in his manifesto, and now there were 2 assassination attempts before that. She said if deranged people like Gavin deranged people take people like Gavin at his word, it's kind of predictable that someone would try to stop Trump's presidency by any means necessary. And I think that's really, it seems to me very dangerous to say any criticism of the president, any criticism of Trump, we're going to put it down and say, no, now you're responsible for some type of violence or violent thoughts or violent actions. Michael?
I mean, those are pretty great calisthenics to be able to turn gun violence on Democrats, and the rhetoric of Democrats it's an extraordinary thing. I don't think a lot of her words puncture the bubble that she is in, or that we are all in, but this bubble, that we may share with her in a way, from listeners to participants to I just don't think that that's the kind of stuff that resonates with the big political world, the populace. But I do think that, you start to see at this point the kind of messaging that they're going to be doing going into 2026. Forget 28 for a little while. That's what they're going to be doing. And these are also the sorts of things that you do with kings and dictators. It used to be, and probably still is, a crime to utter a bad word about the king of Thailand. You couldn't do that. right? That was a punishable, imprisonable offense. Those are the kinds of things that we're looking at here, dictatorships and monarchies. And to not speak ill of now it's one thing to threaten, but to say, Donald Trump's an awful president or whatever you want to say, that's not contributive. And that's part of free speech anyway.
I
think Michael hit it. I think Michael hit it on the head when you say that, it's not Democrats that are in love with guns, and who want to take violence in their own hands. That's Republicans. And in fact, at least one of the guys who attempted to kill him was a supporter. So, I don't think that's much of a real threat. I think that's just trying to harden up the base by Laura Ingraham and, put some more fear into people. I'm not sure that Trump is going to make it to the next term, but that's his own health. I mean, there's a lot of stuff coming out now about how unhealthy he is, how his ankles are are cankles, and they're swollen, and his hands are marked up from what it looks like. He's getting an IV of some kind to where that it leaves bruises, and he can barely make it walking across the stage. And I think that the Democrats who are pointing that out should be pointing it out, and the media should be pointing it out more. I mean, they certainly went after Joe Biden. They should be able to go after, and they should have. They should have gone after him more. But they certainly should be going after Donald Trump and his health.
No.
We mentioned Trump and Newsom, and I'll mention him again because in the interview with Politico, Newsom brings up this deal that Trump has made with chip makers Intel and Nvidia. He announced this month that the federal government will be taking a 10% equity stake in Intel, and all three companies, Nvidia, Advanced Micro Devices, Intel, headquartered in California. And he also negotiated for profits from semiconductor firms, Nvidia and Advanced Micro Devices. This is very interesting. It seems like, to me, rather socialist, possibly communist, where you have the government sticking its fingers in business and becoming part of the business as well. And Newsom said it's outrageous and it's reckless. And if Joe Biden had tried to nationalize Intel, there would be a big deal to send H2O chips to China. He said people would be outraged. Why is it okay for Trump to do this? This is new. What do you think, Michael Shure?
Well, I mean, it's everything is new, right? I mean, precedent goes out the window with Donald Trump. And so when you say this is new, we're learning new norms, which I don't think will be permanent, and I don't think people will want to be permanent, that because of his mysterious power of persuasion with the people who vote for him, he's able to do these sorts of things. So this is all, I say it every week, and I mean it. You don't have to compare someone to Hitler. I don't think Donald Trump is trying the systematic elimination of a people, but I think there's so much of what he does that is small f fascism. And I think that's important to always remember when analyzing what his moves are and what those who are complicit in his administration are doing too.
It'd be interesting to see if anybody would raise the fact that he kept saying he never saw the 2025 initiative, and yet he's doing everything that they said that.
Yeah, that's right.
Operation 2025.
Project 2025. Yeah, that's true. That's really true.
Today, Joni, a comparison. Here's what it says, and here's what he's done.
Absolutely.
Right, and he's got people who wrote it in his administration. So to say that that they're not part of it is really absurd. Russ Vought and all those people that contributed to it, they're all part of the Trump administration. Joni Ernst announced today, a Republican senator from Iowa, that she's not running. I don't know if you were going to get to that, Kim. So I wanted to.
I led the show with that. Yeah.
Oh, you did. Okay.
And she has not officially announced it yet. She's going to announce it, she says, in September. But those closest to her say, she's not going to run again. And she hasn't given a reason. But I mean, it's like, why announce it in September? Cat's out of the bag, Joni Ernst. Do you think they can take, the Democrats can take that seat?
Possibly. I mean, I think, first of all, a Democrat flipped a Senate seat last week or this week, I guess, in Iowa, and a state Senate seat. And it was an indicator to a lot in Iowa that things are not going well for the Republicans there. And, last month, J.D. Scholten, who was running a campaign for Senate there, dropped out as a Democrat to kind of unite the field behind a guy, I think his name's Josh Turek, but I might be wrong. And there are 3 or 4 Democrats who are already running. The only Republican I know who is going to run is Ashley Hinson, who is a member of Congress. There are a couple of other Republicans who might be better. Randy Feenstra, Marionette Miller Meeks. I don't think so, because I think she's been weak and having a lot of trouble with her support for Trump there. But Hinson is somebody who may be able to win there. I do think that that's one place that Democrats are really going to target. We talked last week or a couple of weeks ago. I don't remember if Jim was here or not, but we talked about how Democrats are getting a much better playing field for the Senate in 2026 than they had anticipated. They have good candidates. Roy Cooper in North Carolina, because Tillis isn't running. Now they're going to have a better candidate or a stronger candidate who can bring in a lot more money with Ernst out of the race in Iowa. Sherrod Brown running in Ohio. They've got to defend some seats as well, and they're going to, they may struggle to do that in some places. But I will say that everything is going at every turn the way the Democrats want it to go when it comes to the Senate race next year. Not at all a lock, but certainly better than anyone had forecast.
Yeah, and it's Trump's fault too, because what he's done is overreach, and the overreach is really hurting him in the polls. He's way down, and it's going to hurt his party in the midterms. I'm out of the prediction business since I messed up so badly at the last one, and Trump won, but I think the midterms are really in jeopardy for the Republicans because of the things that they're doing. And another thing they did today, this thing, people don't like the fact that this president is trying to take all the power. And today he is saying that he's going to take $5 billion away from the foreign aid, which is really Congress's job, not his. And he continues to do all that kind of stuff. That 3.5-hour cabinet meeting, I don't think that's it you're showing there, but when he was sitting around there with the guys in the in the cabinet room and talking for 3.5 hours, just rambling. I mean, I don't think a lot of people are paying attention to it right now. That's the only issue. But those who are getting pretty disgruntled about what he's doing.
And that includes some Republicans. There's a similarity between the soldiers that were with Biden as he was growing older in the office and the people that are around Trump who, as he does the same thing, and that they have to behave in a certain way because of their jobs. But you wonder what they're thinking and what they're telling other people around them. And I think, that's an important comparison to make as we've gone from the oldest president to now the oldest president. So I think that there's certainly something to be looked at there. And the other thing that supports what Jim is saying, which we all know, is that, they also believe that they're in trouble in Congress in terms of the election, so much so that they're trying to change the rules. And in Texas, they've changed the rules. And in California, they're trying, to prevent Gavin Newsom and the people of California from changing the rules. It's they're panicked and they're worried and they're losing candidates, and senators are not running. Ernst and Tillis are not running because of exactly what Jim said. It's hard to support this. In farming states like Iowa, these tariffs are real and they're hitting or they're going to hit. And what's happened in the past that they've been able to survive and support him for, a lot of farmers are saying they don't want to do that. You look at a state like Maine, Susan Collins is going to have a very difficult time, convincing voters that she's not a Trumper. And at a time, Maine's got an independent streak. She's always the favorite there because she's a very good politician there. She knows how to win. But I think that there's a chance, even though they have an older candidate, that Maine is going to be in play. So I think there's a lot for Democrats to look at in 2026, and it's interesting.
You mentioned Susan Collins. She is among the Republican lawmakers who got booed in a major way. They were calling her slippery Susan Collins and booing her. An Alabama Republican was booed out of a town hall. It seems more and more like voters are standing up and saying, we don't like the big, beautiful bill. We don't like that what you're doing. And as you say, if people liked what they were doing, they wouldn't have to redistrict to win an election. So
yeah, and Trump is changing the name of the bill even because he knows it hasn't resonated with folks, and it's really hurting him in areas like Iowa. The people, people in Iowa are going to lose their medical care, and that's not going to do well for him. So, the big beautiful bill is backfiring.
Yeah,
in a big way.
Let's change topics because before I don't have a lot of time left with you guys. Our time is ending, but I wanted to not end this week in politics without talking about the upheaval at the CDC with Susan Monares, who was fired because she said she would resign but didn't, and it's all over her trying to uphold real, legit science, and the Trump administration wanting to squash real science and bring in their own policies that their supporters will like, and that's not really supportive of vaccines. And then you saw at least 4 top brass at the CDC step down and resign in protest because of her ouster. So,
and all those scientists out in Atlanta are demonstrating in their support. This is
and quitting. Some of them are quitting.
Yeah, it's a dangerous. What they're doing with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and obviously because of him, Trump is doing, is really a real threat to people in this country as far as disease is concerned. Measles is way up. Other ones will be the same. They're not allowing everybody to get the COVID test, which seems silly to me. I mean, why not?
The vaccine,
the vaccine, yes. Why not get the vaccine? It doesn't make any sense. So anyway,
Jim, I want to ask you a question. What's your sense about when a cabinet secretary would be asked to resign, and who do you think would be first? I always wonder because it happens in virtually every in every administration. It happened very quickly with Trump the first time around too.
I think the Department of Defense is still in jeopardy. I think Hexpeth continues to mess up, and he is a brown nose, which will help him, but to put it delicately, but he keeps making mistakes, and I think that's a problem. I think him withholding arms to Ukraine, allegedly without Trump even knowing, was a big mistake, and I think we'll continue to have others. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Hegseth's a good pick. I'm starting to think Kennedy because I'm starting to think that the stuff Kennedy's doing, first of all, it's easier to get rid of a Democrat. And I'm starting to think the stuff that Kennedy is doing is very problematic on the ground and problematic for Republicans who are running for Congress. I think
that's a good point. I think that's a good point.
And so that would be why I would guess Kennedy.
It'll be interesting to see what happens with that. But I don't know if the resignation of all of the real scientists is good to make a point or worse for America, because now you have these positions open where they can fill them with people that are not real scientists, that are, again, as we talked about, Trump putting people in places where they have no business being, where they can't do the job. Now you may have people that are, what is it, Mahas, Make America Healthy Again people. Right. Maybe you might have those kind of people in these real important positions of power. And so is it a good thing that these real scientists are resigning their positions and protesting, or should they quietly stay in these positions and fill them and try to do the best they can for us, knowing that we don't have much hope if they don't?
Well, I think it's a good idea that they're resigning because I don't think they have much power anyway. So what they would be trying to do, according to science, is being overruled. And if you don't do it, then you get fired. So, I think RFK is really in charge of that, and Trump has allowed him to have his way. And I think that if these folks don't resign in protest, that they're gonna be powerless anyway.
Yeah, I definitely think that's true. I mean, there's almost no question that's true. Without any power, they make more of an impact leaving than they do staying.
I'll give you a choice as our last topic. Do you want to talk about National Guard troops raking and cleaning up in D.C., or do you want to talk about flag burning?
Oh, man. How about tennis?
Oh, time for the 48 seconds of sports. Hit it, Michael Shure.
Well, I mean, Jim, have you been watching the U.S. Open? No, I mean, I was really kidding. I just, I think that the flag burning stuff is trying to reel in the Patriots again, and I think that what Trump is trying to do in a way that George H.W. Bush was able to do it when he was running is to go back to those "Make America Great Again" themes that have been successful. But people are listening to other things right now, and even his own people are listening to other things, and it seems almost a quaint idea as opposed to what some of the other things he's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the cultural wars are a trap for the Democrats, and they have to be very careful about that. Love the flag, but don't get involved in a fight over that.
Yeah.
And crime across the country too, even though it's not as bad as the Republicans and Trump says it is, it still affects a lot of people, in the cities. So they have to be careful of that, and I think most of all, they have to stay on the economy. The economy has not done what he said it was going to do, and people, beef prices are incredible. I don't eat much meat, so I don't mind, but the folks who do, the beef prices are way up, and worse than the eggs were. So it's not good.
I have an 11-year-old son who really wants a Nintendo Switch 2, which, by the way, he's not getting. But he's told me in the car yesterday on the way home from school, he said, Mom, the Nintendo Switch 2 is going to be a lot more expensive because of tariffs. So we might not be able to afford it because of tariffs.
I think just based on the clever persuasion there, I think he should get it. I'm all for him getting it.
You're all in for it? Yeah. I just thought that was funny that my 11-year-old is talking.
It's a wild idea, but it just
talking
might
tariffs,
work.
Talking tariffs.
He probably understands it's better than most of us do.
Probably understands it better than Trump. At least he knows we're going to have to pay for it. Michael Shure, Jim Avila, This Week in Politics. Always awesome with both of you. Thank you for being here.
Thanks,
Jim. Nice talking to you. See you,
Thanks,
Michael.
Guys. You make it great. Thanks, guys. Bye. Michael Shure and Jim Avila, love to have them every week. I am so grateful when they come along and talk politics.
The Mark Thompson Show.
And now we can talk some movies. I don't know, Albert, is Michael Snyder in the house? Is it time to pull out the rainbow and the harp?
For once, no. He's not here. Not quite yet.
Oh, no. Well, he has so many movies to talk about. The Culture Blaster, it should be along any moment. And so we'll talk about that. But that's okay because it gives us a chance to talk about some stories that we haven't had a chance to discuss as of yet. And let's talk about the Fed board. Oh, no. The minute I start bringing up something else, here he comes. All right.
These usually happens when we're with David Katz. I'm not sure if the viewers have noticed. Every Thursday, David Katz has been getting a little, like a minute later every week, and we kind of fill until he gets there.
Yeah.
And when we commit to news, he finally joins. But
but it's always worth the wait. And it's always worth the wait from Michael Snyder as well. He comes and goes on a rainbow. There's the harp. No harp? All right. Well, there it is. He's sliding right in. Everybody, the Culture Blaster.
Hey, hi. How are you, Kim?
I am good. Thank you for being here. I saw your list of movies come through and streaming options, and I thought, oh my God, this is crazy. You have so many good movies and things to watch. I don't know if you liked them all, but I'm interested to dig in and get there so we can have all the time to cover them.
Well, first, I want to wish everybody a happy Labor Day weekend. That slacker Mark jumped the gun by bailing out on us and taking Friday off. But we, speaking of workers of the world uniting, we shall overcome his absence, Kim.
Yes, we shall.
Just kidding, Mark.
It's a good moment for me to tell you that the show is dark on Monday in honor of Labor Day.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
That's great,
Yeah.
By the way, Mark, I am kidding. We know it takes a lot to tear you away from a microphone, so get well,
true.
brother. By the way, in honor of Labor Day, I will be giving birth to a new column for the Voice of San Francisco this weekend. And if you happen to be going into labor, I wish you an easy time of it and a healthy baby. Okay, shall we get to films?
Wait, tell me what your new column is this weekend. What's the topic?
I don't know. I think I'm just going to do some film reviews. Probably I did a piece on Alien Earth previously. That cool science fiction horror series that is now streaming. But I think we're going to move to the movie side. And again, let's dig in. What do you say?
I say it's good. Let's do it.
Okay, let's kick things off with Caught Stealing. Caught Stealing was directed by Darren Aronofsky of Requiem for a Dream, Black Swan, and The Whale fame. Oh, he's a good director. He's known for his bravura visual technique as applied to thoughtful and provocative material. But Caught Stealing is far more, let's call it slam bang action than art house drama. It is a kinetic, violent, darkly comic crime thriller with quirky characters and a likable hero in a giant's cap for much of the movie, who is forced into doing some rather unpleasant things. In other words, it's a movie I can revel in. So Guy Ritchie, who did Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, and Matthew Vaughn, who did Layer Cake, have done this sort of thing before with great success. But Aronofsky puts a late 1990s Lower Manhattan spin on things. So, it's not in the London mean streets. And there is a time and a place here when things were still a little rough and tumble in the New York neighborhoods. So Hank, played by Austin Butler, who did such a bang-up job as Elvis Presley in the Elvis biopic, is a former Northern California high school baseball star, and as I suggested, a major Giants fan whose professional athletic career was derailed before it even got going. So when the movie starts, it's 1998, and California is in his rearview mirror, even if he and his mom back home are still devoted Giants supporters. He is now a bartender at a typically funky downtown New York dive with a crazy boss. He has a devoted girlfriend who is a hipster paramedic played by Zoe Kravitz at her most adorable. And his next door neighbor, Russ, played by Matt Smith of The Crown and House of the Dragon, is a lunatic British punk in the requisite mohawk hairdo and studded leather jacket. And when Russ needs to fly back to England for a family matter, he asks Hank to watch his pet cat, Bug. So Hank, being a good neighbor, agrees to watch the kitty that, by the way, is almost as adorable as Zoe Kravitz. What Russ doesn't tell Hank is that various thugs and killers, Eastern European sadists, a quietly vicious Puerto Rican gangster, and a couple of extremely dangerous Orthodox Jews are after something that Russ has, putting Hank and all those he cares about in the line of fire. Butler is incredibly appealing as Hank, and it's not just the character's Giants obsession, although that doesn't hurt. Kravitz is a doll, Smith is a riot, Liev Schreiber and Vincent D'Onofrio are a panic as the Hasidic hitmen, and their support from Bad Bunny, Griffin Dunn, and the ever-welcome Carol Kane. Caught Stealing not only caught my attention, it shook it up. It is in theaters.
Okay, so I'm going to say you're recommending that. That was a surprise. The way you started that, I thought maybe you were going to go down a bad road, but you love it.
Yeah, I was just definitely setting up the sort of movie it is, because we come to expect things from Aronofsky, again, cerebral, right? This is a lot more visceral than cerebral. By the way, the script comes from Charlie Houston based on his novel. And so I think everything works for Caught Stealing in my book. And I've got another positive review, so I'll prepare you so you don't have any unexpected preconceptions. Okay. So, again, we want to do a little setup. One of the bleakest satirical comedies of the late 20th century is 1989's War of the Roses, based on Walter Adler's novel about an initially happy marriage gone bad, very, very bad.
Yeah.
It notably starred Michael Douglas and Kathleen Turner, who had already teamed up with success for the adventure comedy Romancing the Stone, and they did a sequel, Jewel of the Nile. And this version of War of the Roses was directed with panache, and I assume some degree of fiendish glee by Danny DeVito, who also had a role in it. And now there's a new movie based on War of the Roses, simply titled The Roses this time out. As one would hope from the source material, it's a frequently funny look at a marriage falling apart. There are changes from the original book and the movie, starting with the husband and wife being British and ending up in that Northern California bastion of New Age spirituality, Mendocino, where they have a happy and successful life. Theo, played by Benedict Cumberbatch, is an architect with a high-profile museum design that's being constructed by the sea. Ivy, played by Olivia Colman, is a gourmet chef with a struggling seafood restaurant, and they're raising two tweens, a boy and a girl. So, life seems pretty sweet. And then a series of incidents radically reverses their respective career fortunes. Resentment builds, and the sniping begins and intensifies. The Roses is directed by Jay Roach, whose work on Meet the Parents is indicative of his facility with what could be called domestic comedy of discomfort. As for the script, The Roses was adapted and polished by Tony McNamara, who wrote the screenplay for the clever and darkly droll Poor Things a year or two ago. And one of the great strengths of The Roses is McNamara's wonderfully acerbic dialogue, which is delivered by the accomplished Cumberbatch and Coleman, who are both known for, dramatic chops, although they are just as adept at comedy. In fact, you might not know this, but Coleman, for all of her serious roles, was connected to the legendary Cambridge Footlights comedy troupe at the esteemed university, and had her professional breakthrough on the absolutely brilliant UK sitcom Peep Show, which I think people should seek out. By the way, speaking of comedy institutions, Saturday Night Live alumni Andy Samberg and Kate McKinnon play the Roses' best friends, a slacker lawyer and his sexually liberated partner. I mean, talk about strange bedfellows. Samberg and McKinnon co-starring with Cumberbatch and Coleman was not on my casting bingo card ever. I was like, really? These guys are going to work together? And work it does. Allison Janney from, Everything, and Ncuti Gatwa from Doctor Who and Sex Education are also here as two of Ivy's Confederates. As someone who enjoys rapid-fire banter and smart put-downs, The Roses is my kind of nastiness. I laughed, and you may too. It is in theaters.
Awesome. What do you have next? The Roses. You got me on The Roses. I'm down for that.
I think you'll enjoy it.
Yeah.
I don't know that this is your cup of goo coming up next.
Okay.
In 1984, we have a lot of remakes and extensions going on this weekend. In 1984, The Toxic Avenger, a rambunctious, low-budget horror movie with a silly-looking but weirdly noble and lovable monster as its central character, was released and became a midnight movie cult favorite. And now it's inspired a remake that features some recognizable, highly regarded actors who would have never considered being in the original had they been working then. Peter Dinklage, from Game of Thrones, the great Kevin Bacon, and Elijah Wood. And there are somewhat better effects, while this remains dedicated to the deliberately cheap and shoddy aesthetic of the original Toxic Avenger. And for what this is, it works. Dinklage plays Winston Goose, an abused janitor at a corrupt, willfully polluting pharmaceutical firm run by Bacon's Bob Garbinger and his henchmen, including his Igor-like brother, played by Wood, and his greedy investors. So a single father to stepson Wade, played by Jacob Tremblay, Winston learns that he has a terminal illness, likely due to exposure to poisonous chemicals at his job. And the so-called medical insurance provided by the company will not cover his treatments. So he decides to take matters into his own hands. But when CEO Garbinger sends a gang of violent rock musicians, that's right, violent rock musician, to stop a whistleblower played by Taylor Page, who was investigating the company. Winston is caught in the crossfire, dunked in a vat of chemicals, and emerges as a grotesque, villain-destroying hero to the people, the Toxic Avenger, nicknamed Toxie by his at first repulsed but eventually adoring public. There is a lot of melting flesh. There is dismemberment and splatter.
Come
Although
on.
it's very cartoonish and ridiculous and meant to amuse. That said, the humor is often heavy-handed, resulting in what you'd call fitful laughter. And the over-the-topness of it all is familiar and a little kind of wearying in 2025. Still, the satire of corporate politics that tramples on the less fortunate and of untrammeled greed at all costs is pretty much of the ugly national moment. So if this sort of gross out foolishness is your jam, in other words, if you like the original, or this sounds cool to you, hey, enjoy. The Toxic Avenger is in theaters.
Question: do you think that the big name casts with who did you say, Elijah Wood and Kevin Bacon, do you think that was just a payday for them? I mean, what are they doing in this movie?
Well, Peter Dinklage is here as the central figure of Winston. I think that, I guess, kind of like, I assume, for instance, that there are certain movies that appeal to people when they were younger, and if they're in the business now, the chance to be involved in a remake or something like the original film might appeal to them. Think about Margaret Qualley showing up in Happy Gilmore 2. I'm like, what is this wonderful actress doing, in this ridiculous crap? She clearly, as a kid, watched Happy Gilmore and loved it.
You think it's nostalgia? Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. In any event, this is not bad of what it is. It's good of kind. But, again, not only have we been there in the form of the original Toxic Avenger, but we've been exposed to movies like this over time. It's funny you brought up the cast issue. A cast can be a cheat code if you gather the right actors and actresses and put them in a film. That's like a magnet to an audience in some ways. And I would suggest that's the case with the Thursday Murder Club, which is available on Netflix and is opening in a few theaters as well today. I mean, if you ever wanted to see James Bond, Gandhi, Doctor Who, and Lucifer in the same movie, the Thursday Murder Club is your chance. And I will get to the details about that. The Thursday Murder Club is harmless and light entertainment that features savvy elders solving crimes with this who's who of UK acting talent parading across the screen when they're not gnawing on it. Anyway, let's just say some of the characterizations are a bit on the broad side, but these actors are all such a delight to watch. So 4 seniors are in a retirement home in England, and the home is going to be at risk when one of the investors decides he's going to tear it down and build condos or something, tear up an adjacent cemetery, the whole deal. And these people really love their lives at the home and love the friends they've made. So they want to basically stop it. And one of the things that goes on in the home is a handful of people living there have a weekly gathering called the Thursday Murder Club, where they try to solve cold cases. And the Thursday Murder Club includes Helen Mirren's character, Pierce Brosnan's character, Ben Kingsley's character, and newcomer to the home, Celia Imrie's character. And, it's such a joy after having watched them go at it in Mobland, the recent crime TV show that I highly recommend. It's so nice to see Helen Mirren and Pierce Brosnan teaming up again. And so there's that, And then you also get support from the likes of Tom Ellis, who plays Brosnan's son, a former boxer turned TV celebrity. And of course, Tom Ellis, you may or may not know, played Lucifer on the long-running TV series. Jonathan Pryce plays Mirren's husband, who is in fact dealing with the oncoming Alzheimer's. David Tennant, the great David Tennant, known for so many different recent roles and high-profile parts, and who was one of the doctors on Doctor Who, plays one of the owners of the land who wants to basically convert it into more money. And there are other actors in smaller roles. There's kind of a cameo from Richard E. Grant. It's an embarrassment of riches when it comes to the performers involved. And it's sort of fun, okay? I mean, it's produced by Steven Spielberg and directed by one of his de facto proteges, Bay Area resident Chris Columbus, who's probably best known for Home Alone. But it also feels like something from another Spielberg-endorsed filmmaker, Robert Zemeckis. It's fluffy, it's kind of mild, even if it's about murder. You could call it comfort food or escapism, and it does the trick in inoffensive fashion, even with multiple deaths as plot points. It's based on a popular book series that people may know of. The Thursday Murder Club does seem like the latest in that genre of feel-good films about seniors rediscovering themselves while finding purpose and satisfaction in something or other. It's as if the best exotic Marigold Hotel was actually based on an Agatha Christie mystery. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, the Thursday Murder Club, you know what? I enjoyed watching it. Again, it's in select theaters, and hey, it's streaming on Netflix. So if you have a Netflix subscription, you can sit down with it this weekend. It's, it's another Michael Snyder time waster. I don't know how else to put it.
You sold me on it. I'm down. I mean, easy on Netflix, done.
Okay. All right. I want to actually talk about a movie that is a reissue. In 2016, there was a Japanese hit film called Shin Godzilla, which is translated roughly as Godzilla Resurgence. And it wasn't anywhere near as good as the recent Godzilla film that came out, kind of the period piece. But, Godzilla -1 is unimpeachably great. Set in post-war Japan. But Shin Godzilla is a very intriguing look at how the modern Japanese government, with a lot of infighting factions who are jockeying for control, would deal with an unnatural disaster like the likes of Godzilla, delivering chaos and destruction upon Tokyo. So it's as much a political satire as a widescreen kaiju movie about a giant rampaging monster. And you wouldn't necessarily know any of the various and sundry actors that are in it, directed by Hideki Anno and Shinji Higuchi. Again, these are not household names in America, but Shin Godzilla in, 4K is a wild trip to the cinema for fans of the genre. It's in select theaters.
Awesome. Tony's going to love that.
He may have already seen it. I know Tony's right on top of stuff like that.
Yes, he is.
It came out around Valentine's Day, and I'm just going to say quickly, for some reason I thought, you know what, I'm going to watch the fourth in the Bridget Jones rom-com movie series, Mad About the Boy, which I guess catches up with Bridget Jones 20 years after the other movies. The love of her life is dead, and she's a single mom to 2 kids, and it stars Renee Zellweger, she of this squinty eye. I always wonder, is she laughing or crying? And there, as much of there was like corn implicit in the Toxic Avenger. Boy, there's fields of corn in Bridget Jones' Mad About the Boy. She has been a single mom for a while, and she's haunted by the ghost of Colin Firth. I mean, the guy who she was married to, played by Colin Firth. They bring back so many of the actors from the previous Bridget Jones movies in some what manner or other. Some are in significant fashion. Some are in fan service cameos. You do get the return of that Swain played by Hugh Grant. It's like hard to really argue about it. And I know it means well. It's actually pretty well written in the jokey joke front. I think Abby Morgan, who did the wonderful British TV series The Hours, either script doctored what Helen Fielding and Dan Mazer came up with. Fielding wrote the original Bridget Jones books. And, TV producer Bridget decides that she's going to get back in the game and meet guys, and finds a young hunk and gets involved with him, but maybe she's better suited to the new science teacher at the school, the private school where her kids go. And he's played by the charismatic Chiwetel Ejiofor, a newcomer to these films. You know, so much of it made me cringe. I guess Bridget Jones, Mad About the Cringe. That's actually how I would title this thing. But it is available on Peacock. And I know people love the character and love Zellweger. I guess this just wasn't my cup of tea.
You know, it's one of these things where you can kind of go too far with something. Did you say this is the 4th installment?
Yeah, and it catches up to the character. I mean, any movie that has, again, it's a cheat code. Hugh Grant, Jim Broadbent shows up as Bridget's father in a flashback. Emma Thompson, almost unbilled here as Bridget's gynecologist. I don't know.
What?
Isla Fisher is the mom next door, who's a bit of a harridan, and you see her literally for about 4 lines. So there's a lot of talent here again, but I think it's put to better use. This sort of top loading the actors of quality does kind of get good results with the Thursday Murder Club. This maybe not so much.
No. What else is on TV?
Okay, let's get to television really quickly. I am, as you well know, enamored of superhero stuff and what have you. And John Cena, wrestler and actor, or actor and wrestler, he's a pretty successful actor these days. He's back as the anti-heroic DC Comics superhero Peacemaker, aka Christopher Smith, a member of the Suicide Squad, and a guy who so wants peace that he doesn't care how many people he has to kill to get it. That's right. That's kind of his motto. Based on the first couple episodes of the 2nd season, that means more violent, profane, X-rated action and comedy, courtesy of DC Studios head honcho, director, writer James Gunn, who just oversaw the recent Superman reboot and made the wonderful Guardians of the Galaxy movies. Many cast members from season 1 of Peacemaker are on board, including Robert Patrick as Smith's abusive father, and Danielle Brooks, Freddie Stroma, Jennifer Holland, all playing agents or frenemies. And you get Frank Grillo as a spy master with a grudge, and a few cameos from the DC universe, including a few heroes popping up from the recent Superman movie. If this is the kind of thing you like, and it is, in my case, check it out. It is on Max, aka HBO Max, Peacemaker season 2. It's fun. And I got something that's more in your wheelhouse, Kim.
Okay.
It's called Hostage, and again, it's on Netflix. It is a 5-episode miniseries with topical thrills involving terrorism, and it was so addictive that I went into binge mode immediately after watching episode 1. It has.
I've watched this. I saw this.
The Hostage has the benefit of the fine British actress Saran Jones playing the UK Prime Minister, who's in a crisis. They desperately need pharmaceuticals. Maybe they should go to the guy who ran the company in The Toxic Avenger, but they need pharmaceuticals. And she's going to kind of negotiate with the president of France, played by the great Julie Delpy, to get France to import pharmaceuticals, but there's going to be a price. And meanwhile, the UK Prime Minister's husband is kidnapped while working in Africa as part of Doctors Without Borders. This is some good stuff. Sharp, engaging, funny. The president of France has issues of her own, and she could either help the PM or stand in her way. Created by Matt Charman and written by Matt Charman. Again, it's on Netflix, and I do endorse Hostage.
Yeah, I thought it was really good too. It's a typical thriller, I think. I didn't think it was funny as per se. No,
I never said it was funny.
Oh, I thought you said it's funny. I was like, I didn't think it was funny, but I do think.
No, I think I was talking about comedies earlier in the segment.
Oh, maybe I my wires were crossed, but yeah, I really liked it. I thought the acting was good, and you never really knew what was going to happen next. So I liked it. Yeah.
And there's not a shred of comedy here. Oh my God.
No, not at all.
It's a comedic romp with terrorism.
Hostage. No, it's not. No. Yeah, Hostage. It was really good. And also short as far as the series goes. So 5 episodes? It didn't take long to get through it.
not a big investment. You get in, you get out, nobody gets hurt. Well, that's not true. Anyway.
All right. You have any other TV shows you want to tell us about?
Yeah, we talked briefly about the fact that Olivia Colman got her start on a show called Peep Show. One of the two stars of Peep Show that she supported is a guy who I have always admired, and that would be David Mitchell of the comedy duo Mitchell and Webb. They play the mismatched roommates in Peep Show, and they've done individual projects. And Ludwig, which is on BritBox, is a wonderful crime procedural with a lot of wry comedy, unlike Hostages. Come on. Anyway, so Mitchell plays a London resident named John Taylor, and he is a socially awkward guy, but also a brilliant professional designer of popular puzzle books under the nom de plume Ludwig. He has serious agoraphobia, and it's so pronounced that his sister-in-law, Lucy, has to force him to leave his flat and come to her aid in Cambridge, where his twin brother, James, also played by David Mitchell, and the twin brother is a detective chief inspector with the Cambridge cops, has gone missing. And so Lucy, his sister-in-law, convinces this cripplingly nervous John to impersonate James in order to gain access to police headquarters and figure out where the absent twin got to. Is he alive? Is he dead? What's the situation? And it turns out that the otherwise meek John, who is so analytical and puzzle sharpened, is pretty good at solving crimes. And that's the basis of Ludwig, and a lot of fun to watch. I really appreciated it. And I would say the casting is strong here, particularly since Mitchell is one of those naturals. He's just kind of a sad sack character, but obviously smart. It's got a sophomore season coming, so that there is kind of a cliffhanger ending. I really appreciated it a lot, and check it out.
Ludwig, that sounds good. All right, let's recap it, shall we?
Sure.
All right, we have Caught Stealing. You said it's a great cast, violent but fun. You said everything works here with Caught Stealing. The Roses, you said great dialogue. You love the delivery by Benedict Cumberbatch and Olivia Colman. There's some SNL alum in this movie. You said it also works. Rapid fire banter and smart put downs. You appreciated all of it.
Yeah, it is. I must point out it's a little sweeter, a little softer center, I think, than the original movie War of the Roses with Kathleen Turner and Michael Douglas. So
that one was dark. That was kind of depressing. The Toxic Avenger, rather. You said it's got a surprisingly big name cast. The humor you found heavy-handed and over the top, but still you liked the gross out foolishness, and you said it's good of kind. Thursday. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say it's, I mean, I found it diverting, but obviously, we've been here before.
The Thursday Murder Club. You said this is a harmless, light entertainment. It's fun. There's an embarrassment of riches when it comes to the talent in this one. Helen Mirren, Pierce Brosnan, Ben Kingsley, among others. You said it's kind of comfort food, but you really enjoyed it. It's the Thursday Murder Club, and it's on Netflix, so easy to get a hold of on that one. Shin Godzilla. It's a reissue. You said this is a wild trip to the theater, and you recommend it as well. As far as Bridget Jones' Mad About the Boy, you said the word of the day for this movie, cringy. It's on Peacock, but we wish it wasn't. Yeah, no, cringy. Also, as far as streaming options, Peacemaker with John Cena, you said this is a fun movie and you recommend it. The Peacemaker.
It's a series. And let's also be clear. It's kind of X-rated, so there are times when you're wondering, am I watching your standard superhero fare? Is that full frontal nudity for men and women? Oh, yes, it is. And it isn't a lot, but it's there. So this is not for your son, Kim.
Okay,
this is
we're not doing that. Not going there. Hostage. We both saw this. We both liked it. You said good stuff, sharp and engaging, and definitely not funny. That is Hostage, new series as well. There it is. Also, Ludwig on BritBox. You said it's really fun to watch, and you really appreciated this one. That's a series called Ludwig, and there you have it. So thank you. I appreciate you coming in and steering us the right way on this Labor Day weekend.
Well, I do hope that people have a lovely time over the next few days. And remember what Labor Day is all about. And, you know, they may be trying to undermine the rights of workers and unions from D.C., but, you know, fight for what you believe in, people.
Yep. Absolutely. Thank you, Michael Snyder. He comes and goes on a rainbow.
Bye-bye.
Good to see you. Michael Snyder, everybody. You can find his writing on thevoicesf.org. He says he's got a new column in the pipeline, so it'll be good to read it. He's such a good writer. So, Michael Snyder. Hi, Albert. We did it.
We did it. We made it to the end. Again, want to remind folks, we're dark on Monday. We are enjoying the fruits of our labor on Monday. And hopefully by Tuesday, Mark is feeling a lot better.
Noe Marie Clarity with $5. And a Kim. Hi, Noe. Thank you for the contribution to the show. You're awesome. Tom Graves throwing in a couple bucks. I LOL every time they say they are transparent. James Anderson with 5. Many Fed employees are also veterans. Another slap in the face to our men and women formerly in the armed forces. Absolutely. And Harry Magnan with another couple bucks for Michael's Mark Thompson mug. That fun just keeps on growing. Thank you to the contributions. Hope you have a great holiday weekend. I'll see you on the After Party Live next. For now, here he is. Is it? It's coming.
No, maybe a couple more seconds here for Shadow.
Shadow Stevens for the Mark Thompson Show. Bye-bye.
Feel better, Mark Thompson. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.